Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail, and I am joined on today's podcast by Shane Pittson, who is the Vice President of Growth and Marketing at Quip. We're going to be talking to Shane a little bit about Quip's recent partnership with Walmart, its wholesale deal with that leading retailer, as well as its overall marketing strategy as it looks to grow the startup brand. So thanks for joining me today, Shane.
Hey, pleasure to be on the podcast, Joe, and looking forward to the conversation.
So how about you, to get us started, give us a brief description for those in our audience that might not be familiar with Quip. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, sure thing. So we were founded about 5 years ago, so launched in February 2015. We're a modern oral health company and launched initially with an electric toothbrush and toothpaste. And initially launched direct to consumer only, selling through our website, getquip.com, and have grown from the electric toothbrush D2C company to having a full range of oral care products. So we now have adult toothbrush, kids toothbrush, toothpaste, refillable floss pick, as well as more products in the pipeline, with over 5 million users and an omni-channel brand now. Overall, like as a brand, even though we started with the oral care products, we're here to help consumers and help our members ultimately with a full range of oral care needs. So from their at-home care all the way through to their professional care services.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your professional background, what led you to Quip, and kind of your role and kind of your growth at the company, and then we can jump into some more stuff. But I think it would be good for the audience to get a little sense of your role at Quip.
Yeah, sure thing. So I joined Quip shortly after launch in 2015 and had a background in various other startups. So a background in marketing, supply chain operations, and data analytics. And for the first year or so, we didn't do much by way of marketing. We had some, we're fortunate to get some really great press coverage with launch, and spent that first year really shoring up our supply chain and our fulfillment and logistics. And so I focused on our operations management for that time. And then as we really kind of ensured that all of those systems were, running great, we started to spend on marketing, with, Facebook being our first, primary marketing channel, and took over management of our growth and marketing. And we've grown, from that point to where we're at today.
So you noted that the brand was started as a direct-to-consumer company, and that's how you were selling the product to start. I want to get into a little bit, and I mentioned the Walmart partnership in the intro, and we're going to talk about that. But maybe just tell us a little bit about kind of the timeline in terms of, you started and launched as a direct-to-consumer. When did wholesale and when did this kind of getting into physical brick-and-mortar become part of the company's plans, and then when did you begin to execute on that?
I think from early on, I think we definitely saw the opportunity and just the general consumer behavior at retail, and maybe taking even a step back, like the design of the products and the design of the D2C model was such to improve behaviors. So, after visiting the dentist, Simon and Bill are the two founders, both industrial design backgrounds. And, Simon's dentist kind of went on a rant about, people getting the behaviors wrong. They weren't brushing for 2 minutes. They weren't brushing twice a day. And a big one, they weren't replacing their brush or brush head once every 3 months. You know, they were brushing with worn out brush heads. Average time somebody takes to replace one is 9 months. And the general, you know, kind of, I think, mindset and consumer behavior towards oral care products wasn't necessarily super exciting. Like there wasn't super strong, you know, design perspectives, and so the product and service was really kind of oriented towards that, you know, majority of people that were still brushing with a manual toothbrush. And so, you know, we came in at an affordable and an accessible price point, starting at $25 as opposed to, you know, some of the electric brushes on the market being in the hundreds of dollars. And, you know, really look to kind of meet people with, you know, those behaviors in mind. So the brush, you know, is affordable. It has a mirror mount, so sticks on your mirror at eye level, reminds you to, you know, to brush twice a day. Has a 2-minute timer, so it has that guidance with 30-second pulses, so you brush more evenly. And then the D2C element allowed us to have a subscription, you know, that delivered a brush or brush head once every 3 months, because I think a big thesis of ours was like, it's not that people don't want to be brushing with a clean brush or brush head. It's just that it's one of those things that ends up being out of sight, out of mind. You know, when you're going through retail, if you're not passing through the oral care aisle, maybe you don't remember, you know, that you have you know, a worn out brush or brush head. So that D2C angle really allowed us to focus on behavior change, but we knew that one of the biggest behaviors was for purchasing oral care was that people were purchasing oral care at retail. And so from the get-go, I think we definitely saw that as a part of our strategy in the long term, but we really wanted to start with the D2C service to kind of focus and help tailor the brand and product and service to address those core behavioral needs and changes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that, you know, kind of looking at the two channels online, as you noted, that really lends itself to that subscription model that you talked about, and consumers getting their brush heads on a subscription level basis. But, you know, it's still at the end of the day for retail, most of the oral care purchasing still taking place in that channel, at least to start, at least now. So it makes sense for the brand to be in those stores as well. Which leads into my next question, Shane, about, you know, I mentioned that Quip recently announced a partnership with Walmart. We'll be selling its products in that retailer stores and on Walmart.com. This is in addition to some existing partnerships that Quip has announced with Target and Bed Bath & Beyond, Best Buy, Wegmans, just to name a few. So maybe you want to tell us a little about, you know, why these were the right partners for Quip, why wholesale, why these wholesale partners fit and aligned with the Quip brand.
So, I mean, I think, you know, these are great brands and great partners that, you know, have done a great job and have a long history of you know, serving a lot of customers, and it ultimately, you know, going kind of that with a lot of partners, as you mentioned, I think really reflects our commitment to make oral care products and services more widely accessible. You know, the majority of people are using manual toothbrushes, and, you know, the more that we can kind of get the Quip brand and products, you know, in front of ultimately these millions of shoppers in these different retail partners, you know, the more we're able to, you know, meet them where they're shopping and where they have those relationships, and ultimately what might be, you know, most accessible or most ideal from a kind of entry point into the Quip brand. And then ultimately, you know, we you know, seek to you know, provide a lot of material and education, you know, in that kind of welcome point, and, you know, point a lot of those customers to getquip.com to kind of further that relationship if they're so interested.
So you've got all these great brand partners on the retail side now, as I mentioned. Then how do you communicate that to let's talk a little about your marketing strategy and communicating that to consumers. You want to generate this brand awareness, but also you want to communicate that your products are available at all these retail locations. Tell us a little bit about what Quip's doing there to kind of promote its wholesale relationships.
Yeah. So when you think about a D2C brand, I think Facebook often comes to mind, or other kind of paid social and Google and other digital display and advertising mediums and mechanisms. And although we've been active and have advertised on a lot of those platforms and channels, over the last few years, our marketing mix and strategy and approach has really also included a lot of offline, and ultimately a majority of our marketing investment goes towards offline media, and has for quite some time now. I think this kind of diversity in our marketing approach, which is inclusive of like audio, podcasts, national radio, local radio, TV, as well as the kind of traditional like D2C or disruptor, mediums on the digital side, has really allowed us to kind of enter into a lot of these partnerships with a strong brand awareness. And then now that we're launched in a lot of these national partners, we continue to support them with TV ad campaigns, and audio investment and other mechanisms that have really proven to drive retail growth.
In terms of the wholesale side of the business, have the events of the 2020 has obviously been a challenging year for a lot of physical retailers, traditional brick and mortar retailers. Maybe not so much some of the retailers that Quip is partnering with in terms of Target and Walmart. Those have been essential retailers and have done quite well. But have the kind of the COVID-19 pandemic and the cloud, the uncertainty around where brick and mortar is headed and going forward, has that caused Quip to reevaluate its wholesale plans in terms of physical retail, or maybe it hasn't? Do you want to just talk about that a little bit, Shane?
Yeah, sure. I think it definitely represented a lot of change, and I think a lot of brands and retailers were seeing how that would affect their customers. I think for us, we were pleasantly surprised to see our customers continue to stay subscribed, and continue to really value that direct relationship of that delivery, and that potentially being one less like physical trip that they may have to make. But at the same time, everyone's kind of habits around that are a little bit different, and being able to be where they are shopping and make that one less potential trip in that sense as well, I think has definitely fared well. Overall, like I think through these partnerships and relationships, we do see customers not only have a relationship with our retail partners, but also go on to have a relationship with Quip directly, and sign up for those recurring shipments, and that subscription convenience, to the point where it's ultimately our retail is our biggest acquisition channel for that direct to consumer relationship at this point.
Yeah, that's a perfect lead into the next question I was going to have, in terms as as we see consumer behavior shifting, and maybe you acquire that customer out of Walmart or Target or Wegmans, wherever the case may be. You're trying to create a relationship with them so that they're engaging with the Quip brand. And do you see that a lot of those customers are coming to the Quip website, they're signing up for the subscription program, they're interacting and they're engaging directly on kind of the D2C side of the business after they initially are acquired through retail?
Yeah, we are. We see quite a bit of that, and I think that's, I think our product, our price point, our design, and our shelf appeal and everything else has really led to us having a pretty rapid gain in presence and market share within the category. And as people, there's, with kind of all of that materials and with that onboarding experience, we do see a large number of those customers that purchase at retail choose to engage in that direct relationship with us as a brand.
And how about the D2C business in general? Many brands, as consumers were going out less, going to retail stores less frequently, they saw a bump in their online businesses. What have you seen at Quip in terms of the e-commerce side of the business, and what are you forecasting or looking at in terms of growing that side as we move into 2021?
I think there's a couple of mechanisms. One of them is through continued retail expansion. It's been a great entry point for millions of people, and we'll want to continue with that strategy. And then within the existing Quip membership, we continue to innovate. We continue to release new products. I mentioned a refillable floss pick earlier that we launched last month, or 2 months ago now, that has gone really, really well. We launched a smart motor that is backwards compatible. So the millions of people that own a Quip toothbrush, for $25 can get a smart motor attachment that provides them analytics and insights into their brushing habits and behavior, but also offers points and rewards. One of which is like a gift card to one of our retail partners. So it's this kind of continuation of the relationship and of the relationships ultimately that customer has with our retail partners, but also with us directly.
So one of the areas that has been a challenge for a lot of brands that have opted to sell direct to consumer, and this, you hear this a lot more with brands that started in more of the retail partnership, the wholesale side, and then decided to sell direct to consumer. That's the opposite for Quip. But is potential conflicts between D2C sales and as well as existing relationships with retail partners. Do you foresee any of those challenges for Quip? And if you do, what are you doing to kind of address those challenges so that both sides can remain happy in the relationships that you've created?
Yeah, I think that overall, it's exciting to get behind kind of the impact that we're able to have as a D2C brand or company. To be able to change that overall habit of people are replacing their brush or brush head once every 9 months to once every 3 months. I think is something that people, including our partners, can see the value in and can celebrate. I think it's a there's more and more links to oral health and overall health, and being able to kind of have that health impact, I think, is something that we're very excited about. I think we're looking to innovate in other ways, like I alluded to or mentioned, the rewards side of our direct-to-consumer relationship. So, users or members of Quip that are using our smart motor and app, are earning points and maybe redeeming those points for a gift card to Target. And so there's this continuity of both brands and of those relationships that I think is shared and ultimately symbiotic.
Yeah, the kind of give and take there. So you're driving traffic back to the Target or the Walmart or whatever the retail partner is. Like you said, that's kind of a symbiotic relationship. So as my last question, and this is actually our final episode of the 2020 calendar year, Shane, why don't you tell us a little bit about where your attention at Quip is focused as you kind of look to move into 2021? Obviously, want to continue to sustain the growth that you've created over the years. Where's the focus for you and your team at Quip?
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward to 2021, and I think we're incredibly proud of the team and the expansion in our range of products and the continued product rollout that we've seen. Stay tuned for more new products in Q1 and beyond, and for us to continue to roll out those at home like oral care solutions to our retail partners. But ultimately, beyond that kind of at-home oral care and improving that experience, and ultimately, helping people to build better and healthier habits at home. One of the biggest, issues is that many people, even those that have dental insurance or coverage, don't go to the dentist every year, let alone, twice a year. And so, we definitely see it as part of our bigger mission to really improve oral health, and are excited to do more as it relates to improving the experience of our members as they seek professional dental services.
Yeah, to your point, a grander mission than just selling product. You really want to educate and help people improve their oral health care.
Right. And our products and our retail partnerships as well, I think, build the trust that's needed to expand into the dental services. As they're using our products, as they're reading our advice, they're seeing our products on shelves with these large retail partners that they trust. All of that, I think, really helps to build trust in our ability to improve their overall experience beyond just their at-home care.
Great. Well, we're just about out of time for this episode, so I want to take the opportunity to thank Shane Pittson of Quip for joining us today on Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, thanks so much, Joe. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talk is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.